We're two episodes deep into this new season of Chicago Med, and things are already off to a rocky start for Dr. Archer as he's got someone invading his ER department who also thinks they are in charge. Sarah Ramos is Dr. Caitlin Lennox. Were you surprised that you were going to be having a co-ER department head when you were reading the scripts?
Well, I was told that things were going to get a little more heated this year, not just for me, but for many of the characters, and that is a function of our new showrunner, Alan McDonald, and of course Anna DeCosa, who's the producer, director, leader of the whole bunch too. They wanted to give the world and the characters more grit, more things to chew on, um, and um, and I think they have. I think I'm happy about it. I know I'm happy about it. Dean is not happy about it because he's a very territorial guy, and I think he feels he's worked hard, um, not only in his profession, but also on himself to find empathy and understanding and compassion. And those things in particular seemed to be missing from a lot of his history. What was going on in previous seasons with his son and his relationship to other doctors, especially Hannah Asher, have had kind of made him more malleable, softened him up in a way that I think was good. But I think the writers thought, you know what? There's something about this guy that we need to reactivate, and so they're doing it. And Caitlin Lennox is a great way to do that.
Yes, I mean, we saw that you tried the divide and conquer method. She tried the I'll tell you what to do method. And neither of them seemed to work. I imagine we'll see them continuing to butt heads as the season progresses.
Yes, and interesting things are going to be coming out of that too. It's not just going to be something that we see played out repetitively. And because one of the other elements that our writers and new showrunner has given the show is that these characters are growing, and they're going to be growing and evolving at a pretty rapid clip. Is my signal coming through? You seem to be
Yes, you're fine.
you're
You're fine.
freezing on. You look like your image is frozen. Am I frozen?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
not
fine.
now. Well, I do have to say that I do like the warmth that Dr. Archer shows with his interns, Howard, and I like that Frost is now brought in. And these are new
Right.
individuals that he's having to interact with, but he's still as warm and friendly with them, and less territorial about them because he wants them obviously to become good doctors and do their best. And I found it interesting that Dr. Lennox tells Dr. Howard, you need to be more outspoken as a female doctor and things like that. Where I felt like she could have been already with Dr. Archer because he doesn't seem to have sort of those boundaries where it's like, no, 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 I'm in charge. I tell you what I think is wrong with this patient, and you take notes and you do what I assign you to do. Is that
Right.
something you all discuss as well?
Well, the interesting thing about that is, again, it shows how the writers are working. They are they're taking a very strong character like Dr. Lennox, and they're not just making her strong for strong's sake. They're not making her, we need a female character who's as strong as Archer and this and that. No, that strength and that leadership ability, as we'll find out, comes at a cost. Comes at a personal cost to her. People become those things often because they're not born to them, but it's thrust upon them, and we will learn why she is that way, and it's a compelling reason. Similar to, I think, what makes Dean who he is. He has a background that we've learned about on this show that we can understand why he's desperate to take such intense charge of situations, and why he feels why he struggles with compassion and patience, as because we've learned that in his past he has he has PTSD, he has trauma, he has disappointment, and these are ways to kind of mitigate those things. And so similarly, Caitlin Lennox has issues as well. So I think we're going to understand why she's a certain way. And the thing about Ashley Chestnut's character is that, she might be very well adjusted and she's interested in healing people and becoming a really good doctor. But she's got to contend with these very strong personalities. And that there's a world in working in this hospital, and I guess in all hospitals, that supersedes your original purpose of being a healer. You've got to deal with the bureaucracy. You've got to deal with personalities.
Politics and everything.
Politics, and so that's really what she's being indoctrinated into, I think.
It's interesting because both of you, Dr. Lennox and Dr. Garth, are giving her orders at the very same time, different orders,
Yeah,
and she's ready, and she's like, got it. But we
yeah,
don't
she's
see
very good.
which orders she follows
Right.
in that moment. So I'm eager to see how your two managerial styles play out and affect her as a doctor as well, which will be interesting.
You'll just have to wait like everybody else.
Okay. I have to ask you about working with Sarah Ramos. She's a seasoned NBC vet as well. What was your process like for sitting down and sort of talking out those tete-a-tete scenes together?
Well, the reality of doing a show like this is that there's very little time to do that. We don't have a rehearsal period at all. And there's not a lot of time to see if people have chemistry. That job is actually falls to casting and production. And those two departments are fantastic. Our casting department and producers understand what the show needs and what the show has. They've not made any casting errors, I would say. But to your point, Sarah and I had to just kind of jump into it, and we are finding nuances as we go along. There's in film production, but mostly in stage production, there is a rehearsal period, and that's where you find out things about each other's character. When you find out backstories and you figure out ways to connect in a way that expresses what's written, and what people think will be exciting. There's not a lot of time to do that. We just have to jump in and figure it out as we go along. And we're into I think we're about to shoot our 7th or 8th episode, and we're finding it. We're finding it. It's taken that long. It's almost the equivalent of doing the kind of you've heard stories about people who have to do love scenes and they'd never met before. It's kind of that same way, except these aren't love scenes; these are conflict scenes, but they're still intensely personal and emotional nonetheless. And you want to find out what works, and you want to be as truthful as possible. So I guess we'll have to answer your question at the end of the season.
Well, oftentimes people who do butt heads so diversely have sort of an underlying attraction to each other. I think some people will try to at least put that label on possibly these two characters as well. Is that something you feel is warranted, or you think these are just two colleagues who have two managerial styles that are just different, and or is that another wait and see, Stephen answer?
Well, I truly think that, again, giving credit to the new writers and our new, I guess, leader in Alan McDonald, that he's aware of how smart this audience is, and also how savvy they are when it comes to being able to spot patterns and trajectories. And this is an intense show, but it's also is a recognizable drama. I'm not saying it's a soap opera, although it can go into that area, which is arguably more predictable. But I think they're taking that into consideration, and they're trying to see where things go. As an audience member, I would say, "Oh, these guys are going to get together," but they're a couple of steps ahead of that, and they're going to try to develop things in as different a way as possible. If there's, there's still people I hear. I don't read any of these Reddit boards or whatever they are. Maybe I should. You know what? I probably shouldn't. And people still love the idea that seemed to develop in people's heads that there was a kind of a Hannah Asher, Dean Archer thing. And actually, Jesse and I began to speak about that a little bit, saying like, well, what would that be like? I mean, it would be really interesting and not a bad thing by any stretch. But the writers took it a different way, and we're all pretty much along for the ride. I don't know what's going to happen really.
With so much medical jargon and dramatic scenes, you're a fairly jovial, easygoing guy. How do you shake off a long day of being in those heavier moments?
You mean I'm a jovial? Stephen is a jovial guy,
Even
not
as
Dean.
a yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, again, it's not the type of job that really would allow for somebody to go deep and dark and stay there. This show has lots of wonderful actors, and I'm not saying they couldn't do what, let's say, Joaquin Phoenix does, or Denzel does, but even Denzel Washington has said, look, I go deep, and then I have to deal with the real world when they say cut. I think with all the deep, gritty, heavy stuff that goes on in this show, everybody's so damn grateful to be working and to be part of this one Chicago family that it's harder to go deep and dark and much more easy to be lighthearted and jovial. And because that's it. Look, it's an illusion. We're all faking. We're all pretending. The reality of the show is that everybody's got such intense gratitude, and everybody gets along so well, crew and cast, that we have to be snapped into kind of a more sensible, serious approach when we have to do these scenes. It's not difficult.
This is season 10. And as you just mentioned, everyone gets along so well, and you're a part of this wonderful trilogy, sort of that's one Chicago, one one Chicago Med, Chicago PD. Everything is Chicago Fires, all
Yeah.
meshed into this beautiful family together. What does it mean to you to be a part of such a well supported and such a fan favorite series?
It means a lot. It means there's a degree of pride and some affirmation that comes along with it. Um, it's a good company, and it's good company to be in. I mean, and the fact that people enjoy these shows to the extent that they do is also very affirming. I'm so happy and proud to be a part of it. And also personally, I have a connection to this particular character, and so it's a way for me to stay in touch with those elements of myself that are meaningful, and it's a way to week to ply my trade as I always wanted to, as I always dreamed as a young student. Um, I get to play a character who is on a trajectory that I myself am not particularly on. I'm on a different one. But that's the beauty of being an actor. I mean, you can sort of feel things and play things that you don't get a chance to in your real life, and it's probably good. I don't want to have the life that Dean has, but I get a chance to say beautiful dialogue and have really interesting adventures and be a healer. I can barely heal myself. I'm not going to be working on somebody else.
You have been a part of some incredible and iconic films and TV series. Certainly, Wings is one of my personal favorites as well. Do you have some projects that really still continue to hold a special place in your heart?
In Wings, for a variety of reasons, it was such a fun time, and also it was part of the TV experience of the before time, before the internet, and as such was kind of the last of that classic must-see TV world. So that is really important to me. I was just talking with somebody today about this film I did in 1986 called Hamburger Hill. And we were all young actors. It was me and Don Cheadle and Dylan McDermott and a bunch of other great, wonderful actors, Courtney Vance, in the Philippines for 3 months. And it was an early, if not our first film for most of us. And that resonates very strongly for me because it resonates strongly in the military community, believe it or not. But I've had lots of amazing experiences. You know, I always say that nobody's forced to work in this industry. It's a very rare and wonderful kind of job to have, even without the obvious perks. You know, hey, nobody's digging ditches and stuff like that, and it's relatively cushy. Um, but I worked with a lot of wonderful people on both sides of the camera. Lots of craftspeople and technicians and casting people and writers as well as actors. And so I've been a part of a lot of projects. I mean, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip was a really wonderful show to be on, and that has great memories. And also doing the producers on Broadway was a great time for me too. I mean, I've done a bunch of stuff. I've
This
been
is your life,
I
Stephen.
yeah,
You
I know. I know. I'm lucky. I'm a lucky bastard. Look, I've achieved the things that I wanted to achieve. I just wanted to be a working actor, and I'm still, at age 63, I'm still doing it. It's really great. And the industry
feel so in
is difficult.
demand. I
I
mean,
mean, again, I'm a lucky bastard. What can I tell you? There's lots of great actors out there. It's who maybe went down a different street than I did, and that's really the only difference. But I'm grateful for it, and I'm happy I'm here.
well, have you been working on any other projects outside of Chicago Med? Maybe we'll see you pick up a comedic role again here soon.
I would love to. The fact is that doing this show comprises most of the year, and it's shot in Chicago. I often go back home to LA, see my family, my dog, and so there's not a lot of time to do other projects. I am fairly active doing audiobooks. I'm about to record a new one very shortly, uh, and so that has been really rewarding in many ways. But I just plan to keep doing this as long as I can, and keep working with wonderful people as long as I can, and but nothing that I can point to right now.
Well, I'd personally be remiss if I didn't mention how exceptional you were on Jeopardy. You
Ha!
gave humor and exceptional, some really well thought out responses. You played off Ken quite well. That big brain of yours still works
Yeah,
apparently as
yeah.
well.
Like how
Was that
I kept asking him, like, I want to buy a vowel, Ken. That was my favorite thing to do. And guess what? It didn't throw him at all, and
none
that blew me
none of
away.
the things? Yes, none of the
No,
things you would say. I
nope.
mean, he would laugh and he would play off of you so well. What did it mean to you to be a part of Jeopardy as someone who's clearly an intellect and someone who
Wow.
got to show off your comedic moments as well? You gave up a pretty good fight there for that trophy.
Well, with all due respect to the great person who beat me, Katie, I beat myself because I had the answer in my head, but I didn't say it. Anyway, the point is, it was exciting and fun, and talking about Ken Jennings for a second. I mean, he's a guy that didn't start off in show business, but man, he really impressed the hell out of me. He really did. He was unflappable and funny and present, and that is a hard job. Really, to this day, after doing it for over 40 years now, I've been acting professionally for over 40 years. Uh, I'm still a sucker for the illusion. Guess what? Things that look easy, like he makes it look easy and everything, it is hard. It is a hard job. And I say it's not digging a ditch, but man, you need a specific skill set, and he has it. So doing Jeopardy was really fun. I had done Celebrity Jeopardy many years ago with the great Alex Trebek, but I got a little farther this time. And it was a lot of fun. I love TV. I really do. I love show business, um, even with its flaws and pitfalls. It's wonderful to be in that world. It's exciting for me, and so doing that game show was just heaven.
Well, clearly you're a gentleman and a scholar at this point because you went very well, pretty far in that. And then maybe they'll have you on a third time, could be a charm.
Maybe we'll see.
What would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters of the incredible work you continue to do on our screens?
That's wonderful to even imagine that there are fans or that they think I do incredible work. I thank you for your support. I thank you for being there. What an audience fails to understand is that they are the final character in each play, in each scene, in each movie. And without them, what they're watching doesn't exist. You know, it really doesn't matter because there's a connection between the actor and the audience, and the actor and the play, or the dialogue and the dialogue and the audience. And when those three things sync up, it's incredible, and it's why people continually return to this kind of entertainment, drama, you want to call it, or theater, or film, or TV. So people who are just fans aren't just fans; they are participants. They are they are essential to this to this whole experience. So thanks for being there. As much as they appreciate me, I appreciate them. I mean, my God, it's an important relationship, and they've got to know that without them, there'd be nothing.